loads of teaching all the time for every different group you can imagine, schools, police, fucking anything. We get a lot of people coming to us saying, I've been asked to teach in whatever country or blah blah, and I want to teach, but then the people that have asked me to teach say, we need to know that you're insured, we need to know you're qualified. Yeah, because the governments can't just employ some kid off the street. Yeah, because they don't know if he's qualified or not. He could be crap, he could have been training 2 months, they don't know. So they need to know, they need to have a system by which they can look at them and go, okay, this guy is qualified. So a proper qualification will enable all those people to then get that, and then when they are asked to teach, go, yeah, I am qualified. Here you go. I'm insured, I'm certified, and I'm endorsed by the founders. As good a qualification as you can get. And then they'll be able to teach. So it's really to help the community, we think. That's why we're doing it. We don't actually need it, because we do masses of teaching. We've already cracked the mainstream, the government are behind us, or England, all this stuff. It's already huge in the UK, it's going to be even bigger. So we don't need it, but the community definitely does need it, because it needs to be recognised. It won't be recognised unless you have your own certification standards and program. A case in point is back in the UK at the moment. We're lucky we've got this all sort of going on, because it's going to the British Gymnastics Association are trying to steal parkour now. They see it's so popular, and so many guys are going indoors and training in their own way. Gymnastics is pretty dead in the UK, and they want to steal it by creating their own freestyle gymnastics certification, which includes parkour activities. So only gymnastics instructors can teach it. Yeah. So if we don't create something, that will be created, and the government will go, okay, I want someone to teach parkour, there's a qualification, okay. So you'll then have gymnastics guys teaching parkour who don't know anything about parkour. Okay. So we need to create this in order for the government to go, okay, there is a parkour qualification, and these guys are qualified to do it. And so that's why we're doing it, and I think the guys who are doing it are the right guys to do it, because they're the guys that started the whole thing. Jan, Anoto, Chow, they were there at the start. Laurent, all that lot, they've been teaching for over 10 years already in France. Stefan, Thomas, Seb, Kazuma, these are all second generation guys, Johan. They've been training 11 years, minimum, between 11 and 20 years. So there's no one, I think, more qualified to deliver a certification on the discipline than those guys. And they're the ones that have created ADAPT. They put all their knowledge and requirements into it, and they will be the ones that assess people for it. So if you've got this, in our opinion, then it means you're endorsed by those guys, and for me that's pretty good. It's pretty hard, but it's pretty fucking hard. So if you get it, it means you're good, you're strong, you're fit, you're functional, you're technically capable, and you're a good teacher as well, which is the most important part of it.
How much have you guys, along those lines, how much have you guys studied anatomy and physiology and that kind of thing? Because just from what you were talking about and some of the other American guys, physiology.
I think it's important. It's important to study it. Yeah, a lot of our guys, Forrest his degrees were in sports science. He was a professional personal trainer. He was a national level footballer and a professional hurdler in France. So his background is as good as it gets on that stuff. A lot of the guys have a long background and have done a lot of study, research, either got qualifications in it or have just studied it a lot themselves in their own time, which is all useful. But that is useful stuff. But there is a difference. That is useful to have, and it's good to be able to break stuff down. But it's not as useful as the experiential knowledge from the guys who have done it all their lives, because you can get a lot of that kind of knowledge. That scientific knowledge is it's theoretical. A lot of guys talk about it and go, no, you have to do it like this, you have to do it like that, this is the best way, this is the best way. But they haven't trained 10 years in parkour, so they don't know what happens when you do that. Whereas the Yamakasi they have done 20 years in parkour, so they know what. And at the beginning they weren't perfect. They did fucking crazy stuff. They're just like everyone does when they want to begin. But they learned through all those mistakes. They learned, okay, this is not the right way to do it, and they refined their training and found the best way to do it. And that they learned that through experience, not through getting qualified as physiotherapists and all that stuff. They just learned through experience, and that's the best knowledge to have. So those training methods, sometimes they may seem to contradict modern science and all that, but modern science is always right. because you're more than just a machine. Modern science always looks at your body as a machine and says this muscle here does that and this does that, and you have to do it like that, otherwise but you're not that. You're more than a machine. Your body and your mind and your spirit and all that, it's all one thing, and all of them need to be trained together. You can't train one separately. So all of them need to be trained together, and it makes a huge difference thinking like that, rather than thinking yourself as a machine. That mechanistic viewpoint should have gone out with Descartes hundreds of years ago. He was a bloody idiot.
Thank you.
So with the media giving us so much attention and seeing parkour in commercials and movies, do you think this is a good representation of the discipline, or do you think seeing like the Mazda 10 car dash commercial, if this is like, steering, people in the wrong direction?
Well, I haven't seen that one, but I think the media is a double-edged sword, and we've known that from the start. In it raises, by doing media stuff, you raise the profile of the discipline. More people get into it. All of you wouldn't be doing parkour if you hadn't seen parkour in the media. So it raises the profile of discipline, gets more people into it. But at the same time, it can give you the wrong impression. It can be done badly. And it can lead people to the point of view. Now you get some people now who think, I want to do parkour professionally, I want to get into the media and do it as a job, which is, for us, is absolutely wrong, and the totally wrong way to think and approach training. If you're not training for yourself and training for the love of the discipline, fucking quit, man. Okay, because you will not be doing it long if you're not training for those reasons. If you're training to make money or be in the media, you'll get bored of it. The media stuff, eventually, trust me, we've done it for years, it gets very boring, it's very dull, and it's something we really don't like doing, but sometimes you have to do because it helps raise the profile and keeps the discipline moving along in that way. But it gets boring, it's dull, it's hard work, it's contrary to popular belief, it's not very well paid, you can't really make a career out of it. So I say never think in terms like that, and that's the problem with the media. It's helped people. It's encouraged a whole wave of people now to think, I want to get into adverts and stuff. So they're training for completely wrong reasons. None of the guys who started the discipline had any notion that it would be in the media, any notion there would be cameras there, ever. And for the first sort of 8-9 years of the training in France, they were vilified by authorities, and they were really hated by the French government on that. And they were a tiny group who trained alone and trained against all odds. People didn't watch them and clap and go, ooh, people fucking hated them. So they trained despite that, not because of the attention. They trained despite the attention. There was negative attention. And that was good. They were training for the right reasons. So I think, but I think the media stuff can be done. If it's done well, then it's okay. It can raise the profile, and but it needs to be. You need to know what you're doing to do that stuff. You need to be experienced at it, and you need to, because it can be very dangerous. You can push yourself too far when cameras are on you and things like that. You can ask too much of yourself, and people do get injured doing media work and all that. And it just takes away from. It's not the real thing. It's never the real thing.
Do you think it'll inspire, say, like games like Mirror's Edge, or the free running game, will it inspire people to go out there and practice inappropriately? Or?
Yeah, they can do. I think probably the problem. The game is more likely to get people on couches playing a game, but they're out there doing it. But
it's like, ooh, cool! I'm free running. No, you're not.
but it's games are cool, whatever, and it is cool, and maybe it will imply, and maybe it will get people out there. It's a good game.
Do you ever train outside of an urban environment, mountains? Yeah. What's your favorite? What kind of stuff do you like to do? What kind of terrain?
Yeah, all the time, man. If you can, then you guys have got perfect opportunities to. So you should, yeah. Again, it wasn't born in. It wasn't born in the city, really. It was born in. It was born half and half. It was born in Sarcelles, a forest outside France, and in Évry and Bercy in Paris, which is a very urban area, very concrete. And it was the Yamak guys lived in both places, and so they kind of say the spirit was born in Sarcelles forest, and the discipline was born on the concrete. But both were really used a lot. And that sort of natural terrain training is really good for you. It's not the same as training on concrete. It's all organic, and the angles are different, and the footing is not secure and stable. So it makes your body work in a very hard, non-linear way, and it's really cool. Yeah, you can train in forests.
Is it a forest or is it a mountain type of?
Sarcelles is a big forest.
It's a forest.
Yeah. We just released as part of the YouTube Live thing. Actually, we just released